In early 2026, the global machine of commerce stopped grinding. It shuddered. For 50 years, the world was built on a simple promise. You make it, we buy it, the dollar settles it. We called it globalization. But in the archive of history, promises are written in sand. When the system breaks, it breaks all at once. Silent ports of 2026 are not a coincidence. They are an echo. A terrifying rhyme from a forgotten era when one law ignited a global depression. Then and now, the logic was identical: protect our own. But then, as now, the result was a firestorm that consumed wealth, stability, and ultimately, peace. This is not just about trade. This is about the death of a system. The weaponization of the dollar, the birth of a replacement, and the law that guaranteed a crash. Welcome to the Prime Archive. Today, we uncover the documented blueprints of global power shifts. Our previous investigations into the dollar and the petrodollar documented the engine of our financial world. If you appreciate documentary-style deep dives into historical economics, consider subscribing to help support the archive. Let's open the file. To understand the 2026 crisis, we must view the geopolitical chessboard of late 2024. The US dollar, once dominant, faced a slow mutiny. Major emerging economies, the BRICS alliance, were trading increasingly in local currencies. China with yuan, India with rupee. This created a profound crisis in Washington. A US government running massive deficits requires foreigners to buy its debt. When nations stop using dollars, they stop holding dollars as reserves. The exorbitant privilege of the petrodollar was evaporating. The political solution was twofold. First, to generate revenue without raising income taxes on a population already feeling inflation. Second, to punish nations actively promoting de-dollarization. In mid-2025, the US enacted tariffs that averaged 25%. This was already the highest since 1971. The goal was to force manufacturing back to the US and to stop the flow of capital to competitors. But it didn't work. Manufacturing cannot relocate in months. Supply chains are fragile networks, not light switches. Instead of returning to the dollar, the BRICS alliance accelerated their exit. They accelerated the launch of mBridge, a multi-central bank digital platform, to settle billions in oil and commodity trade without ever touching a US bank. This was viewed in Washington not as trade, but as an act of financial aggression. An existential threat to the ability of the US Treasury to finance itself. By late 2025, the response was formulated. It was a trade policy that had not been considered acceptable in modern history. The 100% tariff trigger. Any good imported into the United States originating from a BRICS nation that had actively promoted trade settlement outside of the dollar was subjected to a 100% duty at the border. The policy was sold as a revenue booster and a China-specific penalty. But the archive knows better. Tariffs are not paid by the exporting country. They are paid by the importing consumers. A $1,000 laptop made in Shenzhen now costs an American $2,000 overnight. Inflation, which the Federal Reserve had claimed was under control, returned as a stagflationary monster. Supply chains simply froze. Manufacturers who imported components could not afford to buy them. Retailers who imported finished goods could not afford to stock them. The world was waiting for the inevitable counterstrike. To understand what happens next, we must unlock the file on 1930. Our archive takes us to June 17, 1930. The United States was in trouble. The stock market had crashed 7 months prior. Unemployment was rising. Farms were failing. The consensus in Washington was, we must protect American jobs. Senator Reed Smoot and Representative Willis-Hawley had a simple plan: raise taxes on imports. By making foreign goods more expensive, Americans would be forced to buy American-made goods, saving U.S. industry and agriculture. The political pressure on President Herbert Hoover was overwhelming. More than 1,000 economists signed a petition begging him to veto the bill. They warned it was economic madness. In 1930, Hoover signed the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act into law. It raised average U.S. tariffs to their highest level in history, at the time around 60% on dutiable goods. It was a massive, blunt instrument. And the result was immediate, though not what Smoot and Hawley intended. The rest of the world did not accept this protection silently. Smoot-Hawley was the definition of beggar thy neighbor economics. Foreign nations instantly retaliated by raising their own tariffs specifically on American products. The highly efficient American export sector was slaughtered. General Motors couldn't sell cars in Europe. Kansas farmers couldn't sell wheat to Canada. The very jobs the law was designed to protect vanished. Historians debate exactly how much Smoot-Hawley caused the Great Depression. It was already underway. But the archive is clear on this. Smoot-Hawley caused the collapse of international trade. Between 1929 and 1934, global trade value fell by a staggering 2/3. The world of 1930 was highly integrated, but not as tightly wound as 2026. The failure of trade meant that surplus food rotted in American fields, while people in European cities starved because they could not trade their manufactured goods for it. This is the part that is always overlooked. The trade war of 1930 instantly metastasized into a currency war. Since nations couldn't earn dollars by exporting to the US, they ran out of gold and dollars. One by one, they were forced off the gold standard. Britain, the center of the financial world, abandoned gold in 1931. The world broke into competing, hostile financial spheres. When trade fails and currency fails, it destroys the political fabric. The economic desolation caused by the trade collapse provided the fertile ground for political extremes to flourish. In Europe and Asia, the trade war of 1930 set the world on an unavoidable trajectory toward kinetic conflict. This is the danger zone. Returning to early 2026. The 100% tariff trigger had frozen supply chains and ignited stagflation inside the US. But the BRICS alliance responded not as Smoot-Hawley victims, but as an ascending monetary union. In late 2025, the BRICS alliance announced their sovereign debt reset. In retaliation for the tariffs, they formalized the Petro-UN settlement, explicitly ending all dollar oil contracts and demanding payment in the newly launched BRICS Digital Reserve Unit, DRU, or gold. The 2026 crisis was not a repeat. It was an escalation. The 1930 trade war had broken the trade system. The 2026 trade war was designed to break the dollar reserve system. This was the currency war that the original Petrodollar Pact was created to prevent. By the start of 2026, the world had officially bifurcated. Two separate trading blocks, using two separate financial architectures, with the US having slapped a 100% tax on the barrier between them. The fallout has been documented. Economists are predicting a multi-year global recession. Inside the US, the Federal Reserve faces an impossible choice: raise interest rates to 1980s levels, around 20%, to fight stagflation, which would implode the banking system, or print trillions to finance a government with zero tariff revenue and no treasury buyers, which would hyperinflate the dollar. The archive teaches that protectionism is rarely about protection. It is about a fading empire trying to command what it can no longer compete for. In 1930, it failed. In 2026, it didn't just fail. It detonated the 50-year system of petrodollar dominance. The 100% tariff war of 2026 was the echo. But the crash that followed? That was the main event. It will take years to document the wreckage. Thank you for joining me on this investigation into the echo chamber. The transition from the petrodollar to a bifurcated digital monetary system is the dominant event of our generation, and we will continue to update this documentary archive as the files become available. What direction do you think we are heading next? A unified BRICS gold currency, or a system of competing regional digital zones? The mBridge project is the core technology of this shift. If you want us to deconstruct how mBridge actually works without touching SWIFT, let me know in the comments below. If you want to support this kind of archival work, the most effective thing you can do is subscribe to the channel The Prime Archive.